You're welcome back to the morning show here on the Rise News. In a few months, the responsibility for accommodating and feeding Nigeria's close to 80,000 correctional center inmates will effectively be transferred to states by the Federal Ministry of Interior, which oversees the task of corrections with institutional support from the Ministry of Justice, supposedly under the administration of Criminal Justice Act, which was signed into law in 2015. When that arrangement comes on stream, not a few Nigerians would like to know what the welfare of these inmates will look like. Well, let us ask someone that should know better because of antecedents. Ben Abraham is a lawyer and executive director of Zarephath Aid, an NGO that has been catering to Nigerian prison inmates for a fairly long period of time. Good morning, Mr. Abraham. Good to have you join us on the show today.
Good morning, too. Nice to be here.
All right, good morning. Let's start this way. I mean, we have heard quite a bit from the outgone Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, about the not so ideal situation in our correctional centers, otherwise known as prisons. But the intriguing one is the decision of the federal government to say that from the 1st of January of next year, state governments will have to take over the responsibility of feeding the inmates. How did that come about, and what would be your assessment? Don't prisoners have rights at all, or is the federal government tired totally, so much so that they can't even feed the prisoners?
Yes, quite a number of these policies to us don't seem to be well thought out. On the 17th of March 2023, the ex-president Buhari signed into law 16 or 17 constitutional amendment bills.
That's right.
Number 15 or so moved prisons or corrections from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent, making it that states can now establish and run prisons. Now, on the 11th of May, 2 months thereabout, in a 2-day conference on prison decongestion at Abuja, the ex-Minister of Interior, represented by the PAMSEC of the ministry, told us that from 2024 January 1, the federal government will now remove its hands from feeding. So, is it a 2-month period from signing, signing the law by the ex-president, that you've come up with this policy to tell us that by 31st December, you will remove your hands? It's a policy we've announced, but how are we going to implement this? Just as so many things we complain about, this is also one of the areas. Was it well thought out? Now, the pronouncement as a pronouncement has sent jitters into quite a number of the inmates. We communicate with them, we meet them in court, we assist them in various ways. Even under the federal government, which has been taking care of prisons, corrections from independence, how has the welfare of the inmates been? I can tell you, of course, 2 days after that 11th May pronouncement, the ex-minister was in Port Harcourt to commission or to inaugurate a hospital in the maximum security prisons in Port Harcourt, correctional facilities as they are called now. And he reiterated this policy declaration, while adding that the federal government spends about ₦1 million a year.
That's what he said.
On each inmate. Meanwhile, they have told us that 22.4 billion is the budget for the year.
That's right.
We have about 76,000 inmates, even though he said it's 74,000. When you do the math, 74,000 inmates times 1 million doesn't give you 22.4 billion. It should give you 76 billion. So something somewhere is not getting right. But meanwhile, let's go to the real thing, the brass tacks. As it is, how is the welfare? Let's just take the feeding, which he claimed they spend 1 million on. I can tell you for free. It doesn't take us anything to visit these inmates. We meet them in courts every other week. We go there for our legal aid rounds and legal aid clinic. We see them, we interview them.
You have a fair idea of how they are treated.
The recent group we assisted and secured their release after spending 9 years without trial. Came out and painted the picture. We have the videos. Here, we're talking about Lagos State. Prisons in Lagos State, there are 244 prisons.
All right, so the federal government is not saying that they're removing their hand completely, but they're saying that they're transferring the responsibility to the state government because 90% of those inmates are being persecuted by the state government. So do you not think that the state is able to take care of their inmates?
Now, ideally, you have this in the US, you have it in South Africa. Corrections, by its nature, is not what should be centrally done, just the federal. Yes, we support that the state should have something. Even the local counties, as we have it out there, they have these many prisons. But what is the state of our constituent parts? No, I mean our states, the states that make up the federation. How is the economic situation in most of these states? Reports we have is that about 15 states are insolvent in terms of meeting. The report we have is that 10%, not up to 15% states in Nigeria generate an IGRO that is up to 10% of their monthly allocations from the federation account. Now, these are the states you want to move the feeding of 90%, as the ex-minister said, of the total inmate population to.
Did he say 90 or 70?
He said 90% of what we have. So if we use 76% as a benchmark, we're talking about 90% of 76,000. I mean 76,000 inmates. So how do you want to handle it, especially in these states, which have been termed multidimensionally poor? And that's where we as an organization, we are coming in, we are advocating that the groups, the two parts, the federal and the state, should sit down. Even like I was about to say, even where the federal government has always taken care of these people. I can tell you for free that 1 million naira a year is not what they spent over these years on each inmate. The food is not like one of the recent inmates.
You are going to give us an insight into how does it work? Do they have a three course meal? Three square meal a day?
And then
do they get that?
Not just that, they should have the dessert, I'm sure.
Because they are human.
They're human, of course. And these are the things we want to let the outside world know, that we have signed a lot of international protocols and instruments on the minimum treatment of offenders and prisoners. But these things are just on paper. Now, the last group we released came out and we specifically put these questions to them. Now, one of them said, "Sir, let's not describe this because if you begin to imagine it, you may throw up." Then in the morning, they bring to them beans, what they call beans. And these are floating seedlings, seeds of beans floating on water. Not done.
Cooked, not cooked?
Half cooked. That's why I said not done. And when they bring this, of course, they say most of them don't eat it. But those who cannot afford anything, who don't have people that come to visit them, just have to make do. In the afternoon, they said they bring a cup, what you call, of course, the liquid milk cup. Then they take some gari, pour into the plate and give them. Nothing goes with it. So you either chew it, put water in it, soak it, and drink it, and the same thing repeats in the night. Said some days they now bring these beans and pound the beans into a paste and give them. Now, this doesn't even. In fact, one of them said his own dog at home can't even eat this. I'm sorry to say it on TV, but that is the level of what it is. We have the videos, we have the people. We still have to. We are still planning to release another batch in the next 2-3 weeks. Still going to interview them. Now, when we talk about Lagos State is primed locationally, where you have also a lot of non-governmental organizations, faith-based organizations that come to assist the inmates, bringing quite a number of things because of its prime location. What do you have to say about other facilities far away, Jigawa State, far away, Sokoto State, and some other states? How do the inmates even make do there? And someone somewhere telling us that the federal government spends 1 million naira a year. Nothing can be further than the truth.
All right, so this was the Buhari administration's brainchild. Now, what would you advise the new government, the Tinubu administration, to do in terms of rehabilitating this whole process?
We have done a letter. We're just waiting for the new government to come on stream, fully the new minister come on. We're going to submit that letter in which we have our proposals.
What is in the proposal?
Number one, a joint committee. If you intend, the federal government intends to move on with this, it has to be done not blindly. It has to take into consideration, one, the number of prisons you have in these states, the number of inmates in these states, the number of states prosecuted offenders vis-a-vis the federal government offenders. Then you also have to take into consideration the almighty economic position of those states. By the time a joint committee comes on board and they look at this holistically, then we begin to make headway. It's not just pronouncing it and everybody goes to bed. And of course, if we don't do this early, when the 2024 budget begins to come on, the activities, and you leave this out automatically, from 2024, January 1, this will turn to states. And where the states are not equipped to handle it, the welfare of these inmates will be totally in a mess.
What's your understanding of the proposition by the Interior Ministry of what will happen from the 1st of January 2024? Does it mean that the inmates will be moved out and given to the state, or they will still be in the federal correctional centers, but the allocation for their feeding and welfare will have to come from states? But how will that work? Because there are 36 states. I don't get it. I mean,
now you're coming to the deeper aspect of the issue. It's going to be a dual regime. And that is why we're still saying, bring the parties together. Let's talk about this. Dual in the sense that federal government is going to run the structure. The NCS, National Nigerian Correctional Service, is a federal government organization. The staff, federal government, payment, welfare, and all that. Then, in terms of managing the facilities, it's still the federal government. The conveying of inmates to courts every morning to attend their cases, the federal government. Security, the federal government. Now you're singling out food. So they are not going to be moved out of those facilities in the time being. But even for the feeding only, we need to sit down, like I said, to look at how many inmates said, okay, how do I bring the money? Do I now call in my own cooks, states? I mean,
no, I mean, is there a budget in that amendment? Was there a budget for food allocated to the states for prisoners?
That's a policy that has just been announced. There is no budget, as it were. But if we don't intervene and get the federal and state to sit down and know who does what from January 1, definitely many states are not going to add this into their budget for 2024. Of course, the federal government is not saying we're handing off now.
Yeah.
So they're putting the states on notice, so to say, that look, put your acts together, because from January 1 next year, we are not going to feed 90% at least.
That are persecuted by the state.
Because the states are the ones.
So there is no budget as we speak for feeding.
There's no budget by states for feeding as we speak.
But in terms of data, do we have an idea of how many inmates per state in those correctional facilities? This
is where we are going. The committee has to come up with this record. We have to take stock, we have to take data. How many inmates do we have per facility? Even when you talk about the federal government offenders or federal government law offenders, it's not going to be the same in every state. Lagos should have the higher number. There are the remote states where you may not even have one or two of those offenders. So we are going to, it's going to be a systematic thing that will get the parties to sit down together and work out. As an organization, we're not going to sit back and watch them handle it, because we're going to court. Even as it is, they have rights. They are waiting trial inmates, for example, is not yet found guilty.
Yes, that's another.
You can't keep him in a squalid condition and say he has not, as the law sees him, offended until you can prove that he has committed the offense through a conviction by a court of law. At that point, he becomes a convict. Before that, the law sees him as innocent.
All right.
Should you now lump him together with even those who are convicts? How far? Should you keep a convict in such condition? Because that is
a correctional center.
Correctional
You know,
so
humanity should not be.
Correct. And that brings me to my question. In Nigeria, we run the prison system, as opposed to what we know as the correctional center. Now, with your advocacy, what are you doing in terms of social reintegration? Are you, advocating for that as well?
Yes, as an organization, we have 3 thematic areas: legal aid, welfare of the inmates, inmate welfare or general welfare, as we call it, then rehabilitation. Of the 3, the toughest is rehabilitation. Because the idea is rehabilitation should start before they are discharged. We call it pre-release rehabilitation. We are working with the authorities, you get some of them to earn some skill set that they will fall back on when they are released. Over the years, we intervened in setting up some of these centers. At Shagamu Prison, our organization, working with the then superintendent of the prison, set up a skill center where these inmates can come, learn how to do hair.
While they are still inside.
While they are still inside. Learn a lot of other things, supply sewing machines and all of that. It was something worthwhile, and it's still something worthwhile to do. Now, when they are discharged, that becomes another kettle of fish. Because in real terms, quite a number of families of inmates run away when their loved ones are arrested. That's what we see.
Oh.
Some out of ignorance, some out of fear. Then the stigma that associates with, this is their brother, this one is brother, is a lemo, as they call him.
A convict, a lemo.
And all that. So a lot of factors give rise to families abandoning these ones there. So they eat from what comes in through these organizations, and then at the end of the day, they come out that day, the first challenge they have is, where do I sleep today? Some will tell you they have to travel outside of Lagos to meet their relations. This is where rehabilitation starts. So what we do sometimes is we look out for faith-based organizations that partner with us. When they come out and say, okay, let's go to so mosque, so church, and let them know. Most of the people we assist are those who we are not convicted, because our idea mainly is to decongest the prisons. So we offer legal aid, especially to the poor, the indigent inmates. And at the end of the day, you see that they come out not convicted. So you don't call them a convict, but the society sees them as, he was behind bars for 9 years, so he should have hardened. A lot of people want to avoid them. That's the point, that's the place you have to bring them in, assist, get them to some other organizations who have facilities. Incidentally, that's an area Nigeria is not doing well. There are very, very few of them out there. We don't run any facility we don't, but we assist to get them to move on.
The former minister singled out entertainment and creative skills as one of the areas where they have supported and succeeded in reforming many of the inmates. Is that your own finding too? I mean, I recall the case of, was it Chidinma, the one alleged to have killed somebody in Lagos and then
participated in the
pageantry or something,
leaked out so they were.
Yes.
But that was within the prison system, though.
Yeah,
it's just some sort of recreation for them at that point.
So I'm linking that to what the former minister said, that even within the correctional centers, that part of what they do is to encourage the creative skills of the inmates, and he felt that they succeeded in that area. Is that part of your finding too? I mean, are prisons producing creative superstars, for example?
Yes, definitely there can be a superstar that, of course, they could come out to become that. But when he said they succeeded, how did he measure the success? We're going to be talking holistically, not singling out Port Harcourt prison, Lagos, like I said, the Abuja, where you have the MAX, as they call them, maximum security prisons. They have maximum everything. When you have 76,000 people and 300 people come out with skill, that's not a pass mark. Yes, I know that we have bands. These are mostly what these inmates come together to discover their skills. While
there are bands inside the...
Yes, there are musical groups. I've attended many programs here where they came out to entertain the guests. Yes, especially in Lagos here. You have them there. You also have the football matches. They have their grounds for Lagos, because most of these other prisons are colonial bequests to us. Some of them don't have the facilities. The size of the prison is not even up to what you should call a prison in the real sense, because it's not easy not because it's not easy, but because, like you said in the introduction, issues around this become an irritant to the authorities. So nobody really wants to talk about the welfare or the facilities. So most of these facilities were built pre-independence. Okay? So you don't have those spaces for football, for sports, where people can learn those skills and come out to become something. But don't forget one thing, people could be in there and perform as a band. The real thing is when the person comes out. How does that translate to his being able to generate income to sustain his life? That is what true correction and rehabilitation is.
Absolutely. Now, are you privy to the federal government's rehabilitation or social reintegration program for alleged terrorists? I mean, I believe that they do have some funding. Do you know how that works?
No, I don't. This issue, of course, it's a classified thing, so to say, because it's Boko Haram, terrorism related, even their movements, we are not privy to it. There was a time recently we had rumors here that a lot of them were released from the maximum here in Lagos. But the correctional authorities didn't come out to say yes or no. So also with the funding thing you're asking, we know funds are expended towards their rehabilitation, but most times it's with the Federal Ministry of Justice, because that angle, terrorism, is a federal offense. States most times don't have anything there. They deal directly with the Federal Minister of Justice, vis-a-vis the military, who have a say, and then the prison authorities. So those things were not privy to them.
Okay. What was termed as economic exploitation of inmates generated a lot of heat in Egypt recently. And some of the things that you have described to us from a layman's angle will sound like economic exploitation of the inmates even in Nigeria, particularly those who are yet to be convicted. My question to you is, have you had cases, are there legal grounds for inmates to come out and challenge how he or she was treated in the prisons that are meant to be correctional centers, the way they were fed, the way they were treated, things like that? Are there legal, it might not have been tested, but then could there be legal grounds?
I love that, because this is one of the things we want to take up in the light of what the minister said, the ex-minister said. It jars the mind to hear that in the face of what we see every day. So then someone somewhere should be answering some questions. If truly this budget is there, of course we say budget appropriated is not money, appropriated is not money released. Now if we confirm that the same money was released, we're going to look into it. And then the legal angle. We're going to take 1, 2, 3 of these ex-inmates as applicants and apply to court. Let's test that ground. Right. If you come out to tell 200 and something million Nigerians that this is what you spend on an inmate, and then that's not what we see in reality. If we let it slide, then the responsibility, we are not taking responsibility for the area we say we are working in. We have to go to court and test. They definitely have their rights. They definitely have rights.
Let me add to that question. In your encounters with the correctional officers, the warders, the officers themselves, what sort of mental appreciation of their being do you see? Because if officers who encounter these people on a daily basis and can see how badly treated they are, yet that is the job of a warder. Somebody is in charge of putting the sort of beans that you described and Gary on a daily basis and serving it to them. Do you also see the need that even the correctional officers themselves might be in dire need of mental rehabilitation?
Absolutely. Beyond what they witness every day, their own welfare, which is the staff welfare of men and officers of the service, is something also that needs to be worked about. In fact, as a group, when we talk of general welfare, we see it from two sides. The inmates and the staff. The truth is, if the staff, they are not well appreciated, if their dues are not reviewed from time to time, salary allowances and all that, is definitely going to speak negatively on their warding exercise concerning the inmates. So, yes, they are affected by what they see. And the truth is, quite a number of them appreciate what we are doing. We see it. Oh, sure. So many of them, I have had that encounter countless times, where we come to the courts, when they are brought to courts in the cell. Each court has a cell where they are kept, especially those who are not on bail. And we get to see them. Yeah. Officers approach us and say, please, lawyer, this man, assist them. They've been here too. You could see that. Yeah. Okay, there's quite a number of them also don't really love what they are seeing in there. It affects them too. And don't forget that when there is congestion, their safety is not guaranteed. Because congestion gives rise to restiveness. Yeah. You see a prison that is, or a facility that is made for 800 people, having 3,000 people.
Wow.
Yes. Seen that over and over. So it comes a time where tensions boil.
Do you think the mega correctional centers, the 6 that the minister spoke about,
okay.
Yes, Abuja and Kano almost ready, do you think that they will help at all?
They should help.
Well,
they should help, I believe.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on the morning show this morning.